Welcome back. My name is Nick, and I have Kyle here with me. Pecos with a zero on Instagram. He's a super talented artist, and that's why he's here, because today we're going to be talking about character design in Unicorn Warriors. It's one of our new favorite shows we've been watching. We're really into the lore of it. We just spent like 20 minutes off camera. I wish we would have recorded it, talking about Merlin and the lore of Merlin. So maybe a video will be coming out talking about some Merlin stuff, because we were just having so much fun going down the rabbit hole, or should I say the well, or should I say the sword in the stone. Anywho, just so you know, every comment is interested to win a shirt from thebestnerdyshirts.com. So comment down below things you like or dislike about the show, or other character design observations you found while we were discussing this. And Kyle, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah. So like one thing I love at the end of each episode is they have the sketches, right? Like character sketch, like pre-production stuff, or like even some of the keys, maybe.
Yes,
you know,
it's so good with the blue pencil too, right?
Yep, yep.
It's so
and it's great because you get to see how they're constructed, right? Because when you talk about constructive drawing, that's about breaking down a character into its most elemental shapes, right?
Yes.
And you can see, especially with I kind of lump them into three different categories, right? So you have the heroic pose, which is kind of like how Edred is.
Yes.
You got a nice big round circle, right, for like the chest and like torso, right? And then you've got like good old like beanstalk arms, kind of like pretty thick, right? Yeah. But then you've also got a character design like Alfie and some of the kids, right? Because actually more of the kids kind of facilitate this to, I want to say almost to look like baby fat, kind of.
Yeah.
But like you'll notice Alfie's forearms, they're like kind of like the same thickness throughout. They don't taper off, right? Like more of the adults do, right? And like I've seen this in most recently in episode 5, kid Melinda. She's got that design too. Her legs are really like kind of like chunky kind of, and she's like, hey, you know. And that, of course, this all goes back to the Max Fleischer sort of style, right?
Yes.
And then like with Emma and Melinda, right? Like or Emma specifically, and then like other cute characters, their heads a lot bigger, right? And they just like, you know, like, and it's on this more svelte body, right?
So Max Fleischer, Fletcher, what was it? Max
Fleischer
design from the 1920s. Just so you guys know, he was an animator. And it was Paramount Pictures, I believe, is what their studio was under, or Paramount Pictures produced it.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that. This is going off of my head knowledge, but Kyle's referring to, whenever he talks about Mac, he's talking about 1920s animation styles, like Betty Boop to Popeye to even the old Supermans to Coco out of the Inkwell to, I mean, you can even put in UBI work stuff, because it was almost like kind of similar with the shapes and the simple shapes of circles and the way the arms and how flexible these characters move too. There was that one where she goes to get her palm read or her future read, and his arms were just like noodles. Like there was no bones in there. And if anything, like go back and watch the old school like skeleton design or dance, you know, where they're like dancing these skeletons and they move with these like googly arms. And so the timings there, the designs there, where it's really influenced 1920s animation. It really is at its core. And I just wanted to mention that just in case, because he just mentions it really quickly, but it's like, whoa, hold on, there's like years of history right there in that one sentence I have to describe in a minute. Go ahead, Kyle. I was like
No, yeah, I mean, and then also just to kind of denote the style as well, there's really it's very rare you see hard angles.
Yeah.
Right. Usually everything is rounded. Right.
Even the monsters.
Yes.
Even the big one with the Squidward, little.
Yeah. The terror. The Cthulian terror. Yeah. And like even the ones that are sort of like more villainous, like Morrigan, we just saw, and even the fox, right? Is that their features come to a point, but it's a rounded point.
Yes.
Right. So we can still imply that sort of like more like, you know, sharp, villainous kind of design, but still maintain that softness, right? And like sort of cartoony quality, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've really been enjoying that.
So one other thing too we noticed is beards. I've been pointing out beards like crazy in the designs. And well, I guess it's not even beards, it's more stashes. And it's like these incredible stashes with secondary animation. The designs are so great. But now we got a character, Merlin. Do you want to break down Merlin's design, because he's bringing
So
beards back? to
yes,
this
I
world?
love. Okay, so Merlin is another design I love, and it's actually more in the face, right? So
Mm.
so one thing that I see about these designs, aside from Winston, is that their their body or what they're wearing is not as interesting as their face. Everything's always drawn to the face,
Oh.
and Merlin's no exception because in this one he's just wearing his robe,
Yep.
right?
He's just
He's
got
got a
fresh
similar
out of
he's
the
got a
shower.
similar design in terms of his body type
Uh-huh.
to Edred a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so but his face, like the mustache, like you were talking, also just how friendly, like just his eyes, right? He looks like he's just, oh yes, you can tell he's young.
Especially when
Has
he pierces into
yeah,
Emma's soul or
yes,
timeline or whatever.
yeah, and but my favorite thing is his teeth.
Oh,
So he's very toothy, right? Like, and I noticed that right away. You can see both his top and bottom teeth when he's talking, right? So yes, ha ha ha. So it makes me feel that he's behind that mustache. He's hiding a big expressive mouth. You know, he's like, ha ha, yes, I see. You know, and I love that about. I was just watching his mouth the whole time. You know, and
which
I
people
love
tend
that
to do
design.
with Merlin. I'm just kidding. No, just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
No, it was really good.
Yeah.
It was super beautiful. And then one other thing too, I noticed in the last one too, they did such a good job with design when it comes to the way magic's done. So now we know
Yes.
the evil's coming from this crystallized power, or from the power's bluish tint, as like a bluish teal tint color, and the other magic is Emma's magic, or Melinda.
Melinda, yeah.
Melinda's magic, which is the purple blacks.
Yes.
And they just did such a good job of setting the contrast up with powers. Because now we know, like, from this last episode, spoilers, if you haven't seen the most recent episode with Merlin, which I think is episode 5, we basically know now the fox or whoever it is that's chasing the group is Emma's mom, or Melinda's mom.
Okay, you know what? I don't want to knock that idea, but I think she might be an agent.
Or it's
Unless
an
it's the
agent
same-
of the magic
yeah.
coming through, right?
Yes.
Like it's something where she might even be the fox at this point, for all we know, with shape shifting and magic. And remember, don't want to do sword in the stone as canon, but these people have abilities to turn into different animals.
You know, that's true. They did have a wizard's duel.
Where
you
they switch
recall.
into different animals and things. And,
Yeah.
and she physically changed her form when it came to
Yeah.
the magic shape. So she can probably easily change a form to something else.
True.
So
Very
I'm just saying, what if the nine-tailed fox is Melinda's mom? Anyways,
not
that's
a
just
stretch.
that's just a theory. We also do theory videos here on Unicorn Warriors. Subscribe to get all the updates after the videos, but keep going with the designs. Let's talk about Betty Boo. Emma.
You mean Emma? Yes. Well, okay. So that's the thing, is that, like, the reason we call her Betty Boop is because if you take a look at Betty Boop's head, just like her head, right, and also her body, like, but you'd also say her body, right? Because, like I said, it's like she's like a bobblehead design. She's got a big head, big expressive head with big expressive eyes. Yes, big expressive eyes, small lips, but they're still very like pouty, right? Small nose, right, with like long lashes, right?
Yeah.
And she's kind of got that that squash tomato kind of head going, you know, and kind of like pouty almost, like,
which really helps her stand out compared to all the other characters in that universe.
Yeah.
She has
Very
such
true.
a unique design compared to everyone else. Because if you look at everyone else, I feel like they're more on the Dimitri and Winston, the character designs. All the kids kind of look similar with their big eyes and the head of the shape, but her design really sticks out as different.
Yeah. And so, like, and if you take a look at Betty Boop, you get those features, right?
Yeah.
And that's where all her character is, like, seems to exist, is in her face, right? Just because also because, remember, when she's in her shadow form, right? It's really all shrouded in black. We only see her outline, right?
With some
or silhouette.
eyes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Beautiful designs too. When they go into like Super Saiyan mode, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful.
The effects animation, I've been digging so much. So
animation too. That's a whole.
Yeah, I well, that's the thing. I didn't want to. I don't want to break off into a tangent, but
Yes.
I just want to say one of my favorite scenes this last episode was the flight scene. So, well, not flight
Oh.
scene, but when they're fighting the monster,
Uh-huh.
and she's arguing with Edred, and they're flying, and they get those shots where, it's like,
Yeah.
and they're like those. Those
So
were
beautiful.
awesome. Those were
And one
greatly
thing I
executed.
noticed too, the sword was always centered where he was flying, and I loved that too. Like even when
Yes.
the camera was moving, I loved how it stayed with him in the center, which was
That's
just really cool
right.
because it was like the point and directional. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just super. There was a lot of good moments with timing. When he's like reading into his eye, he's like, "I think I got it," and then you saw like 40 other eyes looking at him.
Yeah.
Alfred. I love that. And
Yeah.
the weight and timing is so good in this show. It's so interesting. I don't want to diss modern animation, but I feel like what's lacking a lot in modern animation is weight and timing. Because like I feel like we're always missing like the weight, and I just think they do such a good job in this. They did a good job in Primal too with the weight, and it's so important. It's one of the principles of animation. It was one of the first couple ones. I think squash and stretch and weight and timing. Those are like within the first 5, and they're so critical to having a good animation. And they just do such a good job. Even with Copernicus, every time he steps and walks, and he just like shifts his weight. It's just it's such a good show. As you can tell, we're total fanboys of this show. We're fans of anything Genndy does. At this point, we're just like, shut up and take our money. Like, was there any other design aspects you wanted to talk about in this video?
So you actually mentioned Copernicus. That's the thing is it's interesting because Copernicus, he's a robot, right? He doesn't have all his personality is in his soundtrack.
Yeah.
Right. And also just his movement, how he moves, right? Also in his design. So the thing is that he may be made out of metal, but he's just a giant sphere, right? With a little head, right? And a little top hat, right? Which kind of gives him this rotund, like sort of like friendly look, like he's jovial, right? He's like, ho, 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 kind of like a Santa Claus kind of thing going, right? And that's what makes him like that's how you can still tell, even though he's this metal man, right? Like he still looks approachable and friendly.
Oh yeah,
right.
Friendly. Yeah, he's a friend. I mean, children come up to him and he saves them.
Yeah,
super loved by all. Very sad what happened to him in this last episode, but we don't need to go there. That's total like episode spoiler stuff.
That's just hot goss stuff going. Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get the right wrenches. And if you know, you know. On that note, wait, is there another character you wanted to talk about? Oh, Melinda as a child. You wanted to talk about Melinda as a child.
So,
design.
I mean, the thing is like, that's also like paired with animation, how they do with her. So she's a child, right? So I think they nailed down her expression very well, right? So the expressions, you get a lot, of course, like since she's a kid, big eyes, right? Like you can just see there's just like the innocence in just like how she's like looking at Emma for the first time, like, "Are you a princess?" Like that sort of thing, right?
The
and she's
eyes
got
of
that
like discovery almost. It's just like,
she's got that like curly Q smile, like like that's like I love it, right? And she's and once again, very simple design, right? She's just like this kid that's wearing this like colored flour sack, basically. It's a black, it's just like a onesie dress, and and the rest she's just all face and hair. Right.
Simple is best.
Yeah.
I always go back to this design, but like in modern like CGI, when you get something like Transformers and it's metal on metal fighting each other, I don't know who's who in some of the moments when they're like rolling around and stuff. I can't tell who's who. But like recently I went back and I watched some old Winnie the Pooh animations on YouTube and stuff. And there's that scene where Tigger tackles Pooh and they roll. You clearly see, obviously, silhouette, shape, and color. Tigger has stripes and the color and stuff. But when they're rolling, it's so easy to see them roll because of their
Right.
their character designs, and they're so silhouetted so well. And this show does this great job with silhouettes too. The silhouettes of every character, if it was just all silhouetted, you would be able to tell who is
So
who
you'll be able to pick them out of a
in a
lineup.
lineup.
Yeah.
You would know who Copernicus is. You would know who Alfie is to Emma. Like you would know all of their designs. They're all completely different. One of the best classes I had was a character design class at my college, and my professor Patrick, super talented artist. I'll put his link somewhere in the video. He's still doing artwork. He's super talented. But one of our first things was redesigning the Wizard of Oz characters. And, you know,
Nice.
and he had us start with silhouette design. So you would go through and block it out with silhouette and their poses and how they would stand and what's what. And this, you picked any 4 characters you wanted. It could have been a monkey to the, you know, cowardly lion, whoever you wanted from Wizard of Oz. And it just stuck with me though. The things I learned in that class, you see it right away. If you can squint from far away with a silhouette design and it's strong enough where you can tell who's who, it's like you have a good lineup. And this show is knocking it out with the lineups. I mean, we just finished Primal. If you want to watch our Primal series, we talked about a lot of different stuff in Primal. Same thing. Every character in that show, you would be able to pick out all the main characters. You can easily, even Queen Bee had a different body shape from everyone else. So it's like all the different shapes you can. Dinosaurs a little bit more tough. I wouldn't be able to pick out the 2 dinosaurs. Well, actually I would, because one has a bigger fang than the other one, right? Yeah, the other one has, but I would look at, even when I was trying to doubt the system, look at it, it's there. Amazing design work. We're not worthy. It's just incredible. Subscribe to join us for this journey. Wait, is there any other character designs? I know it's like my 5th time saying this.
I would say, so I know I mentioned Alfie.
Yes,
I know I mentioned Alfie, right?
Yeah.
Again, we kind of get, so I'm kind of brought back to Betty Boop, but the thing is that, like,
Astro
he's
Boy.
a kid. Yeah. And he's also a kid, right? So we kind of have this thing, nice big round head. Again, with how I was talking about the Popeye features, his forearms, like they're like these tubes, right? They don't really taper, right? And like same thing with his legs. So he kind of has like this. He's got really thick legs too, like especially when he's crossing his legs.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so interesting because he's got that Popeye sort of look, but it also kind of says that, like, you know, he was a ruffian before he became inhabited by Sang.
That's true.
Right?
He was.
So
he was like a lost boy.
He's a street tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
Boys on an island.
Yeah.
And his facial expressions are actually, a lot of the characters' facial expressions are off the hook. But Alfie's facial expressions are the best by far. Dimitri got some better ones in the last couple episodes. But man, Alfie, when he reacts to things and when he can't see stuff or he's sad, there was even one face he did too where he was like so droopy and sad. I'm like, was that Pinocchio when he was on Pleasure Island? Like, after, you remember? I don't know if you remember Pinocchio when he takes a hit of the cigar.
He's like sick. He's like,
and like one of those faces just like reminded me of that. I'm like, oh, I love that classic animation, like just the weight of the face. And that's another thing. I love anime. And their expressions are fun. You don't get weights of the cheeks all the time from anime like that. I mean, you do with certain types. Don't get me wrong. You'll get the expressions, but it's not the design and style of anime. Anime is great in its own way. Like when it comes to camera angles and framing, anime freaking rocks the heck out of that stuff because they got to do it because they're saving time and frames and animation, all this stuff. But back in the day, it was expression of the face and weight in old school animations. And you see that with Alfie to the extreme. And it's just so fun to see stuff like that. I mean, it's different, totally different from anime. Don't get me wrong. You do get fun, crazy, expressive poses in anime, but there's just something about seeing the weight mold to that place compared to just popping there.
I would say my other character I enjoyed this past episode, kind of seeing the design play through in the animation, was Winston. So, like I said, we were talking what his next thing was going to be. I'm like, Genndy doesn't leave any fat left on that. Yeah. He knows exactly what his arc's going to be.
He's probably going to be evil.
So he's going to have
I think
he's going to have a really cool story. Yeah.
He's going to be a good werewolf.
And the thing is with Winston, it's interesting because he's one of the ones where a lot of his design isn't in the face. Of course, he's still very expressive and stuff, but also I find my eyes being drawn to his clothing. Because like
so
he's
detailed.
it's very detailed. He's very well put together. He's a smart dresser, right, for Victorian England in 1890, right? But in this episode where he was on the raft and he's talking to himself, the one where he's huddled with his knees and he's going, like that. That expression was like this glib, like no hope, like kind of like troubled person.
So good. He's like, great. I'm gonna go back there and give that man a piece of my mind.
No, boy, you go back and you tell, yeah.
And the werewolf design was very brief, but very beautiful with the silhouette of the moon.
Yes.
Very beautiful.
I mean, we only saw a silhouette, right?
Yeah, because it was like he was turning on the raft and it was like the moon.
Yep.
It cut kind of thing. So excited to see him come into play because obviously we'll see whose team he's on, but I don't know. I guess the guy's eyes were blue on the ship.
I thought they were green.
Well, that's what I meant. Like they're part of that power, right? The power that they're fighting against.
If we're denoting connecting the dots with the color,
that's because like remember the colors of the pirate's eye were probably very similar to this guy stranded on the boat.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens there. Design wise, great. We do a lot of theory videos here too, so subscribe to get updated. Was there any other characters you wanted to talk about on that note?
But no.
Okay. Go to Instagram, Pecos to the Zero. We were going to do a 5-minute video, Kyle. 5-minute video.
This
you guys got
really
so much
cascaded.
More. Subscribe to get all the updates. Don't forget, every comment is entered to win a shirt from thebestnerdyshirts.com. We will announce the winner on the first Tuesday of every month, and we'll see you on the next AsArt. Merlin theory coming in hot.
Now boy.
Merlin's beard.
By Merlin's beard.